driving along and we see this little fella. Oh, look at him. Oh, he's off. Hello, mate. Isn't he beautiful? Oh, he's got a tick on his chin. How you going, buddy? Look at him. Oh, look at him sitting up. Going, look at me. Things you see when you're driving out for prospecting. Oh, he's gorgeous. Look at him sunning himself. Oh well, better keep moving. Hi team, Mike Williams, Old Fellas Travels. So I'm back in Leonora. I drove through yesterday. I'm growing the rabbit back. The goat is coming back. So that's underway as of New Year's. So I hope you've all had a good Christmas and good safe Christmas and good New Year. And I'm sure we're all looking forward to a better year this year in view of COVID and things, although it hasn't started out too well, has it? But I've had some posts. I had a post up. I put a post up about 3 weeks ago or thereabouts and asking for questions. I let it run for a while, probably a bit longer than what maybe I should have done, purely simply because I didn't get the responses that I expected I might have got. So I let it run for a little bit longer, but we ended up with a few questions from some of the people that follow me, which I'd like to say thanks very much for too, really appreciated. So I answered one of the questions in reference to what detector I'm using, and I actually did an individual video on that some of you might have seen, and I thought it was worthwhile doing a video on that because it's a little bit different setup, it's not so standard. So I'll just answer, there's 2 or 3 other questions I'll just answer briefly, you know, and we'll get them out of the way, and soon enough I'll be back on the ground prospecting. Actually tomorrow I've got a site I'm going to go and hit tomorrow and see how we go. But let's have a look. So one of the questions is from TNT. We met in Noangrup. It was good to catch up, you guys there. And you've asked that when you sell the Dot, what are you going to replace it with? That's a good question, because there's 2 things I really enjoy doing, and one is prospecting and the other is fishing. So my time is mostly between the goldfields and the coast these days. So it's a bit of a hard call, you know, because I'd really like to. I've sold me bigger boat. So I've been trying to decide what I'm going to do, and I'm tossing up between a van, a small off-road van, and building myself a purpose-built trailer. And when I say purpose-built, a trailer that I could maybe put a quad bike on, build a unit, small van type unit on there, just a small room that would have a bed and a table and a chair in it. It could be air-conned with electrics and that, and I was planning on I'd build that out of the refrigeration panel composite, which is pretty much like they use on the vans these days, and fitting that out with some water tanks and that. But it would be purpose built for prospecting, and I was even thinking put a rack on it where I could possibly throw a tinny on it and cover both sides of things. I've done the numbers on that, and it's surprisingly it's quite expensive to do that sort of build. And I have seen one actually out here at Leonora in the caravan park that is ideal, but there's a lot of time in doing that, and I just don't think I'd have the time to do it. Excuse me. I don't think I'd have the time to do it, taking into account that, you know, COVID's making things more and more difficult. So it's a good question. I'm leaning very much towards a hybrid type, little hybrid type off-road camper, but I'm also leaning towards, and I've seen this done also, is getting myself one of the older vans, alloyed frame vans, and just doing a retrofit to it, what will really suit me. And that being the case, if I do go down that path, I'll be looking at changing the configuration of the cruiser and taking the solar panels and such off the roof and fitting it with a rooftop tinny setup. But yeah, in answer to your question, I think it's probably going to be a little off-road van, low profile, preferably something as wide or not much wider than the Cruiser, and pop top to keep the profile down if I can. So stay tuned, it's not far away. I'll be going within the next 3 months. I'll be going one way or the other. The Dot's up for expressions of interest and it'll be on the market for sale pretty soon. So that's pretty much what's going to happen as far as the Dot being sold. Don't get me wrong, the Dot's, it's a great camper and among the best on the market for what it's purpose built for, and that's, you know, serious off-road or camping on beaches and being self-sufficient and off-grid independent. It's perfect for that. But it's not ideal when you don't get to choose the weather by location. So I don't have many options prospecting as to be up in the goldfields, and I really want to prospect for nearly a full year with breaks in between on the coast. And it gets a bit hot. It's more for Barnes than me, to be honest. Poor old Barnes. He doesn't like the heat much, so I'm happy to be out there sweating it out, but I really like to have a location for him and to stay in the cool. And also it's nice to come back and have a shower and then sit in the cool after a day swinging for gold and have a bit of a rest up. So that's about the situation with the Dot and where that's going. So there's a question here from LTN Immelman. Oh, look, I'm a shocking reader. I was never much good, so bear with me. But in reference to, you know, what I'm really looking for with the detector, gold coins and such, I'm not really into, I'm purposely set up to look for gold and gold alone. But relic hunting for coins and such is also an interest of mine. But the 2300 and I'd say probably eventually, maybe in another 12 months, once I've done my apprenticeship on the 2300 prospecting, I'll probably look to go to a 7000. But I also have an interest in relic hunting, and I actually did find an 1898 or 96, 98, 1898 I think it was, penny in amazingly good condition at one of the spots I was detecting. And that does interest me, but I'm thinking I'll probably go for you know, a detector with a small head that's more designed for relic hunting, because generally when you're relic hunting there's a lot of rubbish and but purposely, you know, my main focus is gold. Finding that gold, and that's working for me at the moment. But having said that, you know, looking for coins and that isn't out of scope for what I might do in the future. And in my travels, when there's no gold to prospect for, there's possible that you know, I'll go out and do a bit of relic prospecting. So yeah, that's there for the future for sure, but definitely gold's the focus, and that's my configuration for now. So just one night has asked or made a comment about Barnes. There goes a fly. I'll leave that video in because you swallow a lot of flies out here. But he is a King Charles Cavalier King Charles. And why did I choose that dog? Well, actually he was bought as a comfort dog for my wife when she was very unwell, and but he actually took to me more so, and we ended up with a little Chihuahua for my wife at the time. But I'd get another one. I'd buy one again because for travelling there's a few benefits. They don't handle the heat very well, but that's not such a big deal. But there is some benefits, and one benefit is they're very faithful and very well-natured dog. They get on with everybody, but they need little exercise and they love to sleep. And that's a good thing when you're travelling a lot, because he'll generally get an hour's run in the morning and that'll fix him for the day, and he only needs a 15-minute stroll in the afternoon. And he's pretty happy just to laze around with me and sleep the rest of the time. So great dog for travelling. At the time I was wearing jumpers. Well, I've got to tell you, out in the goldfields it gets damn cold in the winter months. Actually, a Coolgardie and it must have been about May or June. It was -3 degrees one morning, and there's a couple of mornings where when I woke up there was actually ice across the windscreen and the solar panels on the vehicle. So you might see me wearing jumpers someday, and there's days where you could wear a wind cheater the entire day. I don't wear them when I'm prospecting because you soon warm up, but yeah, it can get cold in the goldfields and it can get hot, as in today. It's currently about 31 degrees, and I think it's around about 9:30 in the morning, or maybe not even that late, maybe only 9 o'clock, and we're looking to peak around 39, 40 degrees today. So there is another question here. Another question from just one night again about travelling and where do I recommend and where's safe. You know, I think I can't say that I've been to anywhere that I consider unsafe, but what you do need to consider is if you're remote camping or you're free camping, is whereabouts you might be free camping. Mostly due to the areas. Some areas can be a bit ordinary, but in my experience I can't really say that there's any areas that I wouldn't recommend. Australia's a pretty safe place to travel, but having said that, I very rarely stay anywhere on my own. I'll stay out in prospect on my own, but generally I won't stay in an area, camp in an area that's such as a free camp, and it's just myself, especially up in the northern areas, you know, of WA at this stage. But yeah, I think it just boils down to what you feel comfortable with. You know, you have a look at the town and see what the town looks like, and you know, the people that are there, and I think you make up your own mind, you know, where you want to stay and what you consider safe. But I can't say that I've stayed anywhere that I feel particularly unsafe or threatened in any way so far, and I've stayed in some pretty remote locations. But I think that's something you just got to play by ear, and certainly at this stage there's nowhere I'd recommend not to stay. And you know, I suppose I can be able to expand on that once I travel further north, because I haven't been further north up into the Pilbara areas, and especially up around some of the real old Pilbara and Kimberley mining locations. But at this stage, no, it's all pretty safe as far as I'm concerned. I've had no troubles whatsoever. I got a Wolf comment from Wolf here: less driving and talking and more swinging, mate. Well, that's probably the way we're going to go, for sure, if that's where the interests lie, and they seem to be. So yeah, Ian, you asked what I'm planning. It's actually, I see it's been a month since I put up the post for the questions. Yeah, well, that's a good question. What am I planning? Because COVID is really driving it at the moment. I did plan to be back in Queensland by the second week of January to tidy up some stuff over there, and additionally to work out, I'm selling the Dot, as I've mentioned, but to work out what I'm doing with as far as a van and that goes. And the plan was to go back and be back over here by April, by mid-April at the latest, and then prospect the whole year out, and then be back in Queensland by Christmas. And that was going to be a recurring thing, but COVID has once again interrupted my plans, and it's almost a week-to-week thing now. So plans at the moment, I'm back in Leonora, being the 6th of January today, I think it is, and I'll prospect here probably until there's some change in the COVID environment, and if that means, you know, staying here another 2 weeks and then going back, so be it. But COVID's absolutely rampant in back in Toowoomba, where one of my daughters is, and down on the property as well, and it's going to be crazy. And I have real concerns about being, you know, on the verge of 65. I have some real concerns about you know, the risk of getting COVID. And in WA at the moment, it's probably the safest state in Australia, but it's not going to stay that way. So I'm just playing it by ear at the moment. Do I plan on going, further north of Perth? Yeah, I absolutely do, but not at this stage because it's far too hot. But the plan was, whether it be on return from Queensland or whatever, but the plan is to work down through possibly the Kimberley, but certainly down through the Pilbara area and then down through into the goldfields from the north. That's definitely a plan, and it's in the planning phase, but it'll be dependent a lot on, because it'll have to be a winter trip. It gets far too hot up there for me, not so much for me, but for my dog, and too hot for prospecting. It's hard work when it's hot. But yeah, that's the plan. The plan is also to do some prospecting over in the north of Queensland as well, in the areas where there's gold over in Queensland. But at this stage, a firm plan, it's a bit hard to call. I'm really driven by COVID on what the decisions are, but certainly for the next week or two, we'll be we're back in Leonora now actually, and we'll be prospecting in this area, and we'll play it by ear. But if WA starts to ramp up and COVID infection becomes a risk here, I'm fully vaccinated, but I suppose there's no point in staying in WA as being a safe area, and we'll might as well head back to Queensland. I'm going to have to go back fairly soon anyway. But yeah, plan's a little bit uncertain, but certainly the focus will be, some time on the coast with Barnes because he loves it fishing, and certainly through what they'd call the prospecting season, prospecting and working up through the goldfields and even down from the north. So that's the plans at the moment, but it can change at a drop of a hat. You just never know. And as far as gold, digging for gold, it's going pretty well. I have found quite a bit of gold, and I hope that continues, but there's definitely still gold around. It's just a matter of, it's taken me a while to start building the skills. It's not as easy as what it looks, and you do need to build some skills. You need to become intricate with your detector, because different models and different coils tend to tone a little bit different, and you definitely need to learn to read the ground. That's a big thing, because gold's not just everywhere, and gold's not just where you find it. Gold is in specific areas where the geology and the I suppose the lay of the ground, the erosion, the run of the water and everything else has been most conducive to revealing gold to the surface. And of course there has to be gold in the ground to be revealed anywhere. So I suppose that's one of the most important traits, is to learn how to read the ground, and I'm a long way from being proficient, but I'm learning, and the more I learn, the better the gold finds tend to be. And so we'll continue with that, and hopefully we keep finding gold. Stephen, I've left this to last. We have met, mate, believe it or not, in Queensland. I don't know whether you remember me, but we have met. Reading into your comment, I think I was in pretty much the same boat. I'm just trying to put this simply, but I suppose it was something that I struggled to deal with, and it didn't immediately come to mind to travel. Travelling to Australia was a plan, and I'd been planning for some time for me and my wife, but when my wife passed away, I really didn't know what I was going to do. And it's a terrible situation and all sorts of things. It's an emotional challenge, and it's a real challenge to get over it, and I think it takes some courage to work through it. Not that you ever get over with it, but you have to model something for yourself to learn to deal with it. I call it a distraction, and I think I decided that travelling was going to be my distraction, and get back and see my family in WA that I hadn't seen for a while and such. But I had the same concerns. I was really concerned about travelling on my own. In fact, I can still remember that when I first made the decision to head off, and I think for anybody in my situation, you know, and maybe your dad's, it takes a little bit of courage to make that decision to head off. And I can still remember when I first headed off, I wouldn't say I was scared, but I was nervous, and I was wondering how I'd go travelling on my own. And I don't think I could have done it without my dog. You know, my dog's provided me company, but there's things that make it tough, and it takes some emotional courage to get over. And one thing is being used to travelling on your own and not having your partner with you to discuss and talk and see things. And often I'll go somewhere and I'll think how wonderful, you know, I think how wonderful it would have been to be able to share it with my wife. But I've managed to, but now it's not such, you know, I'm really enjoying travelling now, and I suppose I've conditioned to travelling alone. It's still a lonely business, but I've got to tell you, on the road, some of the people you meet, and if you're open to meeting people, you'll soon find you know, some friendships along the way that'll fill some of the gap. It'll never fill that gap that you had with your partner, but it takes, you know, it makes it not such a lonely environment. You know, there's a lot. It'd be a terrible environment traveling on your own, you know, and you didn't meet people and have friendships and talk to people and have a few beers with people and everything else that goes on. It'd be horrific, and I don't think I could have done that. And what did surprise me, I did worry about, you know, how lonely I might get traveling, but it soon became apparent that if you got, and I say courage, but it does take a bit of courage, but if you can build the courage and make a decision, you have to have a goal of what you want to do in the travel, not a destination, not an end point. I certainly didn't have an end point, and well, I suppose I did, but the end point was the end of the trip. But I think the key is not to set too hard what your travels are, and let, you know, your travel take you where it tends to take you, until you build that emotional courage and that change of habit, and even a little bit of change of lifestyle when you're traveling. And I've come to adopt it now to the point where I'm not sure when I'm going to stop doing it. But everyone to their own, you know, it's not something that somebody can tell you to do, and traveling's not for everybody. But having said that, I was exactly the same. My daughter said to me, you know, about am I still going on, you know, still going to travel, and my very comment was, oh, I'm not sure I can do it on my own. You know, I don't think it's something that I want to do on my own. But I decided I would, because I had to do something and I needed a distraction, and touring is what it was. So, you know, I do encourage anybody in my situation to look at it. And the whole reason I started, in fact, in the early days, I started making the videos on traveling for that very reason, to show, I suppose, other people that might find themselves in my situation, that that there is something else that you can do. And to that end, I think you have to challenge yourself to become a different person, because you do develop yourself into a different person. Your lifestyle is, you know, is shattered, and you need a different lifestyle. Well, not necessarily different lifestyle, but you need to change, you know, the way you live, because my lifestyle was so focused on what myself and my partner did, and when that's taken away, it's a bit of a void. And for myself, I've developed, I suppose, a new lifestyle in travelling, and I soon realised it was becoming a bit of a healing process. So yeah, sure, I mean, I can understand exactly, you know, the comment that you've made, and I think, you know, you need some encouragement to do it, and you need some emotional courage, and you don't need an end point, but you do need a goal on what you're going to do. And for me, it was to travel to WA, and it basically went from there. Yeah, all my best. Stephen, to you and your dad, and I hope things, you know, get better for him along the way. And I hope that, you know, maybe gives a bit of an answer to your questions. It's a hard question to respond to, and but that's the way that you know, that I've dealt with it, and I had exactly the same feelings, no doubt, when I first thought about travelling on my own. So I hope that's helped, and I left that question to last because I knew it'd be a little bit of a lengthy answer, and I hope, you know, that it's give a little bit of insight and maybe helped out, because that's kind of what it's about. You know, when I make some of the videos, is, you know, maybe can give us advice or helping out to somebody that might find themselves in my situation. There's old Barnes calling. He's sitting in the car and he's going, I've had enough. Wrap up the video and get going. So I'm sitting on a lookout at a beautiful spot at the moment, on I suppose about 30k out of Leonora, and we're about to head back now. I did go out to Tecton, but rookie mistake, I hadn't charged my batteries after my last trip when I was away, and I thought I had, so I lobbed out there in a flat battery, 2 flat batteries. So no detecting today, but I'll certainly be out tomorrow, and we'll get some videos up on detecting, eh? Thanks for the questions, guys. All the best. I hope you had a great Christmas once again, and I hope you're looking forward to a good new year. I hope I've answered the questions you know, correctly or to your expectations, and give them maybe 12 months and I might put another question scenario up again, and it might be a little bit more response. Keep watching the videos. I hope they're going to remain entertaining. If you do watch the videos and enjoy them, don't forget to subscribe, because I think still about 90% of people watching the videos are still unsubscribed. So subscribe and tick that bell. There's a few coming online now, and the numbers start to build up, and it's good for me. It gives me lots of encouragement to keep doing and doing what I'm doing and moving along. Stay safe, guys. Have a beer, because I'll be having one this over. I tell you, when it's 41 degrees, I might even have 2 or 3. And look after yourselves and be kind to others. It's important, eh? See you guys. I hope you enjoyed this session. Bye.
Dive into the deepest end. Oh, I wanna feel something. Let me get back in my